Good evening and welcome back. All right, guys. Someone sent me an interesting video from the Cussing Catholic. That's Divine Intel. And it's horribly wrong and misleading, guys. And I know there's a fair amount of you that follow this individual. And guys, I just want to help clear the air because the the opinion shared on this, guys, from Divine Intel, guys, slaughtered the article and just completely makes it very misleading. So let's go through this, guys. First off, let's get some things out of the way, and then we'll get into the article, and then we'll review his work so you can hear his opinion on top of what I share with you. Okay, let's get started. All right, guys. So last year, at the beginning of December, really at the beginning of December, there were articles coming out from both the World Bank and the IMF telling you they were working with Iraq, but in reality, they were working with Iraq all through like the whole fourth quarter of last year. They've been drafting because they both parties, the World Bank and the IMF, both parties wrote loans to Iraq. Okay. So they had to go through all the math. Now, I want to stress something to you though. Those parties can't be paid in the OPEC dollar. They can only be paid in dinar. Here's proof. Right here, as you guys know, I've shown you this in the probably about close to a week ago or a little less than a week ago. But for about the last 3 weeks, Iraq has basically ended the auctions within the country of Iraq. See, here's proof right here. This article right here, guys, this is from today's currency auction by the Central Bank of Iraq. If you notice in the middle, right here, it says total cash sale, and it's 0 to the left, okay, right there. The total cash sale 0, guys. Those are the in-country amount, and what they're auctioning off is U.S. dollars, okay? The reason they're auctioning off U.S. dollars is to get them out of the country. Now, again, that total cash sale, that's in-country. Notice how it's 0. Let's look at the one above. Notice how it's a total cash sale, and it says funds abroad. What they're doing is auctioning off U.S. dollar out of the country right there because Iraq's not allowed to use the U.S. dollar anymore. They're only allowed to use the dinar. Because when I get into kind of this argument with you, this is critical in this, okay? This is right here. This is showing you they're not allowed to use the U.S. dollar to make payments to the World Bank and the IMF. They're only allowed to use dinar. So I'm showing this to you for proof, okay? Now, again, clear since the whole fourth quarter of last year, if not even before that, but at a minimum, fourth quarter of last year, both the World Bank and the IMF were working with Iraq to help them set the stage and prepare for the rate change. Okay, they even wrote them loans. But here's what I want to stress to you. They can only be paid in dinar, not the dollar. That's why they're auctioning off the U.S. dollar abroad out of the country of Iraq. Okay, now, because they can only be paid in dinar, they have to know the rate. So, guys, they would have easily had to have known the rate during fourth quarter of last year because the World Bank and the IMF are helping Iraq draft the economic plan for the rate change. Okay, again, the World Bank and the IMF have easily been drafting the economic plan, setting the economic stage because they can only be paid back in dinar. So they have to know the rate to draft and format and build this and set this in place, okay? Again, all of this, including their payments they get back, they have to know the rate to be able to know how much money to lend them because they have to know the rate to calculate their payments back on top of the borrowed amount or the amount that gets lent to Iraq, okay? So I just want to stress that to you. Now, let's look at the article here real quick. Guys, here's the article. It says a member of parliament on the exchange rate of the dollar will continue. It will continue until this date. Let's look at this article for a second. Guys, this article is real simple. Okay. It says, we'll just go through it one paragraph at a time. We'll explain it, and then we'll get into Divine Intel. Okay. A member of the Parliamentary Finance Committee, Jamal Cougar, confirmed today, Tuesday, that the current dollar exchange rate adopted by the government in the 2021 budget bill was an emergency option and will continue until another budget bill comes. So again, the current dollar exchange rate, that's where it's at right now. And you can see right here, I'm going to highlight something for you. This is the CBI's website. It tells you right here, the current dollar exchange rate's at 1,460. I highlighted it blue near the bottom middle for you. Okay, it's at 1,460. So in this article, the current dollar exchange rate adopted by the government in the 21 budget is an emergency option and will continue until another budget bill. So they're telling you that they've adopted the current exchange rate of 1460, okay, and that they're going to utilize that rate until the next budget bill, okay? Because they're saying this is going to be utilized in the 21 budget. It's adopted, and it's going to be brought forth within the 21 budget. So because they're saying it will continue it until another budget, that means the next budget after the 21 budget, which would be the 22 budget. It's that simple. Because they're telling you this is the rate or value that's going to be utilized within the 21 budget. So again, the current rate of 1460 will be utilized in the 21 budget until the next budget is brought forth. Guys, the next budget after the 21 budget is the 22 budget. It's that simple, cut and dry. Okay? And now here they're saying it is not possible for the country to remain in constant confusion through calls for a reduction or restoration of the exchange rate to its previous state. The previous state, guys, is where it was before they devalued it at 1190. Okay? There's no gray in there. There's nothing difficult in this. And when it says the previous rate or previous state for the exchange rate, they don't mean where it was back in 2004 at the start of the war before it was devalued in the 3+ range. They're not talking about this, guys. It's just very cut and dry. They're just saying the previous state prior to the devaluation. Okay, that's 1190. Okay, it says, therefore, the price of the dollar will remain constant until another budget comes. So they're saying the price of the dollar is going to remain constant through the term or duration of the 21 budget because they're adopting it and utilizing it through the entire term or duration or period of the 21 budget until the next budget, which would, common sense, that's 2022, okay? Everyone should understand that this option was resorted to by the government, forced because the fiscal deficit in the budget bill before raising the exchange rate was 100 trillion dinar. Okay? Well, the fiscal deficit, guys, actually is not 100 trillion. I have an article here. Give me a sec. I actually had it up and I accidentally closed it, but give me a second here to find it. Okay, here it is. Let me bring this up. Hold on, Reuters. Okay. Guys, right here, here's Iraq's 21 budget. Again, though, this is before all the amendments and everything in it. Okay? And according to this article, guys, right here, this is Iraq proves 21 budget, 103 billion. The deficit right here, it says the budget deficit would be 63 trillion dinar. Guys, that's not 100 trillion dinar. That's 37 trillion less than 100. So that's 37 trillion is a lot. So it's nowhere close to 100 trillion, guys. Okay, so back to the so there's the article right there. So again, they're telling you that it's 63 trillion, okay? Is the actual deficit in the 21 budget. Back to the article though. Okay. So basically, we'll relook at that paragraph. Everyone should understand that this option was resorted to by the government, forced because the fiscal deficit in the budget bill before raising the exchange rate was 100 trillion. So guys, the deficit is nowhere near 100 trillion. It's at 63 trillion. Now keep in mind, guys, this article is not even from the central bank. This is not from the CBI, guys. This is from, I showed you guys this the other day. Hold on, we'll go back. But when we look at the top, guys, I'm going to highlight this blue. It's from the Parliamentary Finance Committee, guys. All they do is lie to you. And as you see, this article is loaded with lies. It's telling you right in it. When you look at the first paragraph, the current dollar exchange rate was adopted by the government within the 21 budget. Okay? So they're telling you they're utilizing the current value of the dinar, the 1460, for within the 21 budget. Okay? Now here's another part to this I want to share with you. We were just talking about how they've had major key meetings with the IMF and the World Bank in Q4 of last year to plan, prepare, and set the stage for this. And again, all of these figures are calculated off the rate because, again, the World Bank and the IMF lent them money. So the amount of money that needed to be lent to Iraq had to be calculated off of one main thing, which was is the exchange rate. Okay? All these figures they're telling you have to be calculated off the exchange rate. That's the starting point in the math for this, is the exchange rate. It's that simple. Here's what I want to tell you, though. You guys, and this is another major key point to this. They had major OPEC meetings also in the fourth quarter of last year. They already knew and set the stage for oil, guys. They knew what oil was going to do. Okay? They already, in fourth quarter of last year, guys, they already priced out and set the stage for oil. So they knew, Iraq was already knowing that oil was going to skyrocket up, and Iraq already knew they would be coming into a budget surplus from oil because they already had the stage set for oil pricing. Okay? These prices of oil right now they're not a surprise. Iraq already had the math for within their budget set. So Iraq already knew what their deficit was going to be. They knew their deficit isn't going to be 63 trillion because they knew that the price of oil, they already knew the price of oil when they were planning and preparing for this back in fourth quarter of last year, okay? There were quite a few articles talking about these OPEC meetings. So I just want to tell you that. So when they come out telling you that the deficit's 63 trillion, no, it's not, guys. They already knew what the outcome of oil was going to be. They already had this mathematical equation for the budget and the deficit already planned and prepared because they knew what was going to happen with oil. They knew where oil would be at the time they were going to utilize their budget. And that's why they're hiding these figures from you. And they've already told us in news that they haven't even, they've already told us that they're hiding the real, true amended budget information from us. They told us that in print. But anyway, let's move forward. So everyone should understand that this option was resorted to by the government, forced because the fiscal deficit in the budget bill before raising the exchange rate was 100 trillion. Anyway, the exchange rate of the dollar is a government decision. No, it's not, guys. The exchange rate of the dollar is a CBI decision, okay? That cannot be changed daily as desired, indicating that the markets have accepted the current exchange rate, and during the coming years, it will give incentives to the private sector and strengthen reserves. Guys, this whole article is loaded with lies, especially how they're telling you in the first paragraph that they have adopted the current exchange rate for the 21 budget and that they're going to utilize that exchange rate up until the next budget bill, which would be the 2022 budget. Okay? And nothing in here says that the current budget is temporary, and nothing in this article tells you that they're working on drafting another budget. We just know that they're amending it, guys. And again, the reason that they are amending it, and notice how the movement of the budget, guys, is actually calculated off their fiscal budget period. Okay? They didn't start the budget until January, but they're taking their extra sweet time with it, okay? So that they can hide the figures from you. They got to hide these figures from you so that way when they approve the budget, they can change the rate almost immediately after. Like when I say immediately, I'm talking literally within 24 hours back to back. Like maybe complete, and this is just an example. Complete the budget on a Saturday, change the rate on a following Sunday, okay? Something like that. So that way it's all done back to back so you can't see the figures within there, okay? But as you guys see, they're bringing all this right towards near the end of March, so it's aligned with the April 1st fiscal budget period. Now, let's get into the cussing Catholics, Mr. Divine Intel's.
All right, let me show you guys. This is the second time trying to record this. So here we go. Remember the parliament of the exchange rate of the dollar, it will continue until this day. Remember I told you, before I start continue reading, remember I told you that they have not released the budget because of the exchange rate. Why? Because the rate, they don't want to find themselves, the government in Iraq, they don't want to find themselves releasing a budget with a rate they cannot work with. They did not want to find themselves that they have to lend more money to buy more paper in order to make more dinars.
Okay, so based on what he says, he's saying that they still have an undecided, unknown exchange rate, guys. That's wrong. The IMF and the World Bank lent money to Iraq. Again, they've calculated all these figures and numbers. The IMF and World Bank know these figures. They have to know these figures to correctly calculate the amount that needed to be lent to Iraq, guys. And he said the reason why they have not released the budget yet, okay, is because of the rate. That's not true. Guys, they haven't released the budget because it's based on the fiscal year, okay? The budget won't even be implemented till April 1st. That's the reason they haven't released the budget. So that intel is completely 100% incorrect. Okay, again, the budget is based off of an April 1st fiscal budget period. Okay, that's why it has not been released. It has, and they would already know the rate. Again, the IMF and World Bank, they already devalued the currency as of December 20th. Okay, they already knew what the rate was going to be easily by fourth quarter of last year because they would have already had all of this. They would have already had the math. Again, like I said, they already knew where oil was going to be. They already knew all their numbers and figures as of fourth quarter of last year, guys. It's that simple. The IMF and World Bank, they're CPAs. They're CPAs and bean counters. They would have known all these figures and numbers, including the rate, because the rate is the starting point. Okay? And then everything comes from, all the other numbers are secondary to the rate or value of the currency. Okay? And again, that's why I tried to show you they can only be paid in dinar. And because the IMF and World Bank can only be paid in dinar, they have to know what the rate's going to be to calculate all their other figures, including the loan amounts that Iraq need. They would also have to know what the price of oil is going to be because they're going to have a budget surplus. And because they'll have a budget surplus, that's going to impact the budget because it gives them a surplus of extra budget figures, which means the IMF and World Bank would be lending them less money because of the surplus. So again, this intel is completely, or this opinion's 100% incorrect. Let's keep going though. Let's listen to it.
I told you, didn't I? So watch, listen, because this is a confirmation of my intel. And you are about to get shocked. I repeat, you are about to be shocked. Okay? Listen what I'm going to read. A member of the Parliamentary Finance Committee, Jamel Cougar, confirmed today, Tuesday, that the current dollar exchange rate adopted by the government in 2021 budget bill was an emergency option. Are you listening? They said, I'm going to repeat that again so you can all understand that. They said that Tuesday that the current dollar exchange rate today, right now, adopted by the government in 2021 budget bill was an emergency option. Why is an emergency option? Remember, I've been telling you that they've been lying. They've been lying to their own people into the international markets. Sakimi, the minister of Iraq, they said that they have conquered all problems of the crisis. And other sector of the governments, they saying they're going broke. Didn't I tell you they were lying to the people? Yes, I did. So why are now they coming out with the emergency budget? Because they don't know the rate they want to come out with. Okay?
All right. He's telling you they don't know the rate that they want to come out with, guys. Like I said, that's a complete horse crap. So what he just said is the fact that they don't know what rate they want to come out with. What he's telling you is that the IMF and the World Bank don't know what rate they want to come out with, so that the IMF and the World Bank don't even know how much dinar they need to lend Iraq. If you want to believe that, guys, again, they're bean counters, they're CPAs. They're all over this like a duck on water, okay? The IMF and the World Bank, guys, already had this drafted, calculated, and fully figured and dialed in easily in fourth quarter of last year. That's why they chose to devalue the currency specifically on Sunday, December 20th, so they could use that as a 90-day tool to get those 3-0 notes out of circulation over a 90-day period. It's that simple. Okay? So he's telling you in his opinion that the IMF, okay, guys, sorry my mic was turned off. What he's telling you is that at this time that they don't know what they want to use for a rate. Okay? So what he's telling you is that the IMF and World Bank at this time don't know the rate, which means if they don't know the rate, nor would they know how much money they need to actually lend to Iraq. Guys, they already had these numbers and figures completely dialed in and calculated easily in fourth quarter of last year. That's why they devalued the currency on December 20th, so they could use the 90-day period to withdraw the 3-0 notes by devaluing the currency, okay? So the fact that he's saying at this late in the game, they don't even know what they want to use for a rate. I'm sorry, guys. The IMF and the World Bank are not that sloppy and disorganized. They had to have known what the rate was in the fourth quarter of last year to know exactly how much money they need to lend to Iraq on top of where oil prices would be due to a budget surplus. The budget surplus means that the IMF and World Bank would turn around and actually lend Iraq less money. So I'm sorry, guys, but I can't swallow that with him coming out saying this late in the game that they don't actually know what the rate is. That's bullcrap. Let's move forward. Let's listen.
So, they said the exchange rate adopted by the government in 2021 budget was an emergency option, and it will continue until another budget bill comes. So that's why they don't want to come out with a budget. Okay? They want to come out with a new budget. Emergency budget. They're going broke.
Guys, they're not going broke. Iraq's never said they're going broke. In fact, how can they be going broke when they keep coming out telling you they've got a budget surplus? That makes no sense. They've put out a boatload of articles telling you they have a budget surplus. So with the budget surplus, how can they be going broke? I think Benny's a little delusional or confused or something, guys. How do you go broke when you put out a ton of articles saying you have a budget surplus? And then he turns around and says that the current budget was an emergency budget. Iraq has plenty of time to draft this budget. The budget doesn't even need to be implemented until April 1st. How the hell is that even categorized as an emergency? There's no emergency in this. The budget doesn't need to be drafted until roughly close to the end of March. It would be again, the way Benny's explaining this to you, he's just talking out of his butt. He's not factoring in all the real details. That his logic is crazy and insane in this. Anyway, so yeah, there's nothing in this was or needs to be or is deemed as an emergency. We haven't seen one article that states it's an emergency, and then he states Iraq is going broke, but yet they keep telling you in multiple articles that they have a budget surplus. Let's proceed.
Bingo. The International Monetary. Now let me read this part. Please pay attention. Didn't I tell you that we were expecting a message, an announcement from the IMS, the International Monetary Foundation, yes or no? I even told you we are waiting for another announcement from the World Bank. Didn't I tell you? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Take a look at this news. The International Monetary Foundation proposed, listen to this, to the Central Bank of Iraq to raise the price of the dollar to 1,600. Are you listening? To 1,600. While the World Bank suggested raising it by 1,450. And the government went with this option. Cougar said, what option? 1,450. Now, let me explain to you why you should be shocked. They have a rate, and that rate was nothing, isn't it? Then they come out with another rate, and they never publish it on the CVI website, isn't it? That's another nothing, 2 nothing. What did the IMF suggested to propose? 1,600, another nothing, 3 nothing. And what did the World Bank wanted to have? Another nothing, 4 nothing. Bingo, bingo, 4 nothing.
Okay, right there, guys. He's trying to share that one portion of Kim Clements, which actually consisted of 3 parts. It wasn't just 4 nothings and suddenly. It's actually 4 nothings suddenly, 2 nothings and suddenly, and 3 nothings and suddenly. So he's already ruined the prophetic word, which actually had 3 parts, not 1. Anyway. So he already ruined that prophetic word when it had 3 parts. Let's move forward.
Now take a look. He added. Who added that? Well, the government, right? It's not possible. Listen what he says. It's not possible for the country to remain in constant confusion through calls for a reduction or a restoration. Listen what they said. It's not possible, says, let me just read again. It's not possible for the country to remain in constant confusion through calls for a reduction, meaning a now devaluation, or a restoration of the exchange rate. Restoration, excuse me? Restoration, are you saying $3.25 restoration? It says that it's not possible for the country to remain in constant confusion through calls for a reduction of restoration of the exchange rate to his previous state. Therefore, the price of the dollar will remain constant.
Okay, he just said restoration of the exchange rate, and then he brings the $3+ range into this guy. That's very misleading. Restoration of the exchange rate means put it back to where it was when it devalued simply at 1190, guys. Not 2004 when they devalued it at the start of the war. I'm sorry, but you were just lied to and misled on that, okay? Restoration of the exchange rate just means put it back to where it was right before they devalued it, simply of 1190, okay? And then, hold on one sec, and then we're going
to through calls for a reduction of restoration of the exchange rate to his previous state. Therefore, the price of the dollar will remain constant, not the value, constant, meaning they're going to come out with another bill until...
No, he just said, therefore, the price of the dollar will remain constant until another... Hold on. Give me a second here. Let me just rewind this a second. He just misled you again.
Constant, meaning they're going to come out with another bill.
He just said the value of the dollar will remain constant until another budget comes. He says that means they're coming out with another bill, like budget bill. No, it doesn't. Again, the value of the dollar will remain constant. That means through the duration of the 21 budget. So they're telling you, again, because this is a misleading article, because it's from the Parliamentary Finance Committee, not the CBI, the value of the dollar will remain constant until another budget comes. That means what they're trying to mislead you with is that they're going to utilize the current exchange rate, what they tell you in this article, of 1450. They're going to utilize the exchange rate of 1450 for the entire duration of the 21 budget until a new budget comes, which would be the 2022. Okay? Anyway, Benny's delusional. And here's another thing. They can't use 1450 for the full duration, guys, because Iraq's inflation is spiking slowly from this. Remember, I keep telling you this is all based on inflation? Anyway, let's get back to the cussing Catholic.
Until another budget comes. Bingo! He stressed that everyone should understand that this option was resorted by the government force, people, because the fiscal deficit in the budget bill before raising the exchange rate was 100 trillion dinars.
See, Benny's not even smart enough to catch that mistake in this article. I showed you when I started at the beginning of this video, guys, I showed you the approved 21 budget in Reuters, in that Reuters news article where it said the deficit was 63 trillion. This news article is telling you that the deficit's 100 trillion, guys. That's a mistake of 37 trillion dinar. That's a massive mistake. So again, this article is nowhere close to being accurate, and Benny's not even smart enough to catch that and tell it to you. So anyway, let's move forward.
What did they say? One more time, I'm going to read it. He stressed that everyone should understand that this option was resorted by the government force. What did I say that? That they need to be what? Force to increase the rate, to reevaluate. These motherfuckers need to be forced to revalue. Didn't I say that?
Okay, he's telling you that they need to be forced to change the exchange rate. No, they don't, guys. They were already given the green light back on August 10th when they were taken off the OFAC list. And you know why they don't need to be forced? The IMF and the World Bank are lending them this money, and it's contingent upon the revaluation. Plus, right now, guys, the IMF and World Bank are even in charge of. They're kind of controlling and managing the operations, and they've set the financial stage for this. They're the one in charge of all the numbers in this. Nobody's forced Iraq to do anything. This guy's a nut job. I don't even know how people listen to this clown. He's made endless mistakes in his opinion and assessment of this. But let's move forward.
Yes or no? he stressed that everyone should understand that this option was resorted by the government force because the fiscal deficit of the budget bill before raising the exchange rate was 100 trillion dinars.
Again, he just said the deficit's 100 trillion. I showed you at the beginning of the video it's 63 trillion, not 100, but he's not smart enough to catch these level of mistakes.
The finance minister Ali Alawi said in an interview with the Iraqi news agency the exchange rate of the dollar is a government decision.
See right here, he said the exchange rate of the dollar is a government decision. No, it's not, guys. It's 100% in the hands of the CBI. But again, Benny's not even smart enough to know that or catch that and even share it with you.
That cannot be changed daily as desired, indicating that the markets have accepted the current exchange rate, and during the coming years, it will give incentives to the private sector and strain reserves. The minister promised to find what? The minister had promised to find stability by paying the salaries of employees on time while noting that the external debt amount to $60 billion and the internal 70 trillion dinars.
Anyway, guys, as you see, he made some horrible mistakes. He put a lot of misleading opinions information that didn't look at the real factual data and what he should have caught before anything. And I've shown you guys this from many angles. This article is not even from the CBI. It's from the Parliamentary Finance Committee, which right there makes it instant pure BS. This article has no credibility. And when even if you look at the first paragraph, okay, what Benny's opinion or perception is based on the first paragraph of this, okay, what he's telling you is based on this right here. Let me scroll up for a moment. Okay, right there, just the top paragraph that's highlighted green, it says the current, this is where Benny just slaughtered it. It's just this first paragraph, his first opinion, he just killed it. The current dollar exchange rate adopted by the government in the 21 bill was an emergency option and will continue until another budget bill comes. So they're telling you right there that the current rate of $14.50, okay, right here, right there, highlighted blue for you, the current rate of $14.50 will continue until another bill comes. So they've adopted $14.50 for the entire duration of the 21 bill up until another budget bill comes, guys, and that's simple. That's 2020. So what Benny's telling you in his opinion that the current 21 budget bill is temporary, okay, and that they're going to replace it immediately with another budget. They're not. Guys, they're just amending it. And again, the reason they chose to amend it, or the reason that they drafted the previous 21 budget bill, guys, they already knew all the figures they needed going clear back to the fourth quarter of last year when all of this was drafted and engineered in a way and put together with the IMF and World Bank. They already knew all these numbers. Benny's telling you in his opinion that the exchange rate at this time when he made the video, that the exchange rate is still unknown, undecided, uncalculated. And there's no way in hell that's possible, guys. It's already all calculated. They had all this drafted going back to the fourth quarter of last year. That's how they knew that they needed to reduce the value of the dinar so they could get the 3-0 notes out of circulation, guys. Anyway, Benny's a train wreck, guys. You guys listen to whatever's best for you, but this just blows my mind that this type of opinion would even be brought forth. I mean, this is terrible. He just killed, slaughtered, and ruined this article. Okay, and the article in itself is just pure BS because it tells you they're going to utilize the current value of $14.50 in the 21 bill, and that will remain and continue until the next bill, which would be 2022. Not his opinion that He just came out telling you they don't know the exchange rate, that it's still undecided. And then he also told you that the 21 budget, okay, is going to be immediately replaced by a new budget. It's not. They structured it to amend it, okay, so that they could hide the figures from you, because they don't want you to see that the budget's calculated in billions of dinar instead of trillions, because it's calculated off the new rate, okay? And guys, again, the IMF and the World Bank had to know, even though Benny's telling you that they don't know the exchange rate at this time, he's full of crap, because I could slaughter Benny. If we got into a debate, I'd rip him a new one. They had to know the exchange rate. The World Bank and the IMF had to know the exchange rate, guys, because again, that's the starting point in the math in this. They had to know the rate to be able to know how much money to lend Iraq, plus they had to know the value of where oil would be due to a budget surplus to be able to take those figures and be able to know how much money to lend to Iraq as well around the surplus, okay? They had this all drafted in fourth quarter of last year. Benny's not smart enough to tell you any of this. Okay, guys, this whole video is BS, so hopefully none of you guys watch this and believe this garbage, because it's way out in left field. You guys are the best. God bless. Take care and have a great day.